Assalamualaikum. Today I will be sharing the objectives and assumptions for a very special project, planning the big outdoor wedding of Tony and Peggy Sue, scheduled for June 30. Let's start with main objective. The goal of this project is to plan and organize beautiful outdoor wedding ceremony and reception that include food, music and dancing. The event is to be attended by their family, friends and college's friends, all while staying within their financial limit. Now moving on to some key assumptions that will guide our planning process. First, we assume that Tony and Peggy Sue want a large wedding. This includes not just immediate family but extended relatives, neighborhood friends and many of their college friends. This is a shift from the small family wedding that Peggy Sue family is used to, so managing expectations will be crucial. Second, the couple has chosen an outdoor ceremony and reception, and they hope to create a lively atmosphere with plenty of food, music and dancing, possibly lasting into the night. Financially, it's assumed that Tony and Peggy Sue will be covering most of the wedding costs themselves. Peggy Sue's mother won't be able to contribute due to financial challenge from running the family farm, while Tony's parents have hinted at paying for a honeymoon in Italy. There has been no promise to help with the main wedding expenses, so the couple is likely depending on monetary gift from guests to help offset their overall cost. Another important assumption is that both Tony and Peggy Sue are working full-time. Peggy Sue as a teacher and Tony as a chef. Because of their busy schedule, all wedding planning will need to be done during evening, weekend or holidays, and with just 6 months from their engagement to their wedding date, time is definitely a limiting factor. Now when it's come to family expectation, things get a little complicated. Tony family expect a grand celebration. They are imagining a 30% guest list. His mother, Camilla, has already started planning things like the venue and bridal party without asking the couple. She even wants the reception held at their family restaurant in New York City. On the other hand, Peggy Sue's mom is picturing a simple traditional ceremony in Cornfield, Nebraska, just like her other daughter had. She expecting a morning church service followed by a modest buffet brunch. She also wants a Peggy Sue sister to be bridesmaid again, and even assumed that Peggy Sue will move back to Nebraska after the wedding. Another big assumption is the location. Since the couple live in Texas and their family are in different states, the wedding venue hasn't been finalized, but we do know it needs to support a large crowd and be suitable for an outdoor event. And of course, that means we also have to plan for possible bad weather. In terms of logistics, we assume that Tony and Peggy Sue will need to hire vendor and service like wedding planners, caterer, florist, photographer and live music. They also need to arrange accommodation for guests coming from out of town and make sure all legal and religious formalities like booking an officiant and getting a marriage license are handled on time. Lastly, if their budget allows, Tony and Peggy Sue hope to go on an honeymoon right after the wedding. Whether that happens will depend on how well they manage the cost and the generosity of their guests. So in summary, while this wedding promises to be a joyful celebration, careful planning is essential, especially given to couple limited time, financial constraints and differing family expectations.
Today I'll be presenting the work breakdown structure WBS for our wedding planning project. Let's start with the level 0, the highest level of the WBS. This presents the entire project title Wedding Planning, which is the overall goal organizing the wedding for Tony and Peggy Sue. At level 1, we divide the project into 5 major components. First, ceremony planning. Second, reception planning. Third, wedding activity. 4, legal and administration tasks. And 5, post-wedding activity. These are the key areas that need to be planned and managed individually. Next is level 2, where we break down each major component into specific tasks. For example, under ceremony planning, we have set the wedding date, create the guest list and send invitation. Under reception planning, book the venue, hire a photographer, arrange catering. activity involve assigning roles like bridesmaid, flower girl, and ring bearer. Legal and administrative tasks include applying for a marriage license and contacting the official. Level 3 is where responsibilities are assigned. Tony is in charge of setting the wedding date. Peggy Sue handles invitation and the guest list. Camilla takes care of catering and menu planning. This level ensures that everyone knows their role clearly, improving teamwork and accountability.
The sequence table shows how the wedding planning was organized step by step to make sure everything was done on time. First, Tony set the wedding date in 1 week, which became the base for all other tasks. After the date was set, 3 tasks started at the same time. Peggy Sue prepared the guest list, Camilla booked the reception area, and also coordinated with the officiant. Each of these took 1 week and depend only on having the wedding date confirmed. Next, Peggy Sue sent out the invitations and arranged the wedding roll invitations. This took 2 weeks and 1 week, and both need the guest list to be ready first. Meanwhile, after the reception area was booked, Camilla hired the caterer within 2 weeks to match the venue and guest details. Finally, once invitations were sent, the caterer was confirmed, roles were clear, and the officiant was coordinated. Tony and Peggy Sue did the rehearsal in 1 week to make sure everyone was prepared. This planned sequence reduced delays, keep tasks connected, and help complete everything smoothly and logically.
In this part of presentation, I will explain the responsibility assignment tree or RAM for Tony and Peggy Sue wedding planning project. The RAM is based on the work breakdown structure WBS and used to clearly assign who is responsible, and who support for each work item. This metric helps improve communication and accountability and task coordination. The RAM involves 4 individuals, Tony, Peggy Sue, and Camilla. Let's go through each major section of the WBS. WBS 1.0 Ceremony Planning. Tony and Peggy Sue are jointly responsible. Camilla support them. For example, Tony set the wedding date, Peggy Sue sent invitation, and Camilla help with the guest list. WBS 2.0 Reception Planning. Again, both Tony and Peggy Sue take the lead. Tony handle booking the venue and hiring the photographer and DJ. Peggy Sue is responsible for catering with Camilla, supporting in planning the menu and drink. BS 3.0 Wedding Role Invitation. Camilla is primary person in charge of assigning roles like bridesmaid, flower girl, and bridesmaid. Peggy Sue support her, and Madrid also helps speak with the bridesmaid. WBS 4.0 Legal and Administrative. Both Tony and Peggy Sue handle the marriage license and efficient coordination. Camilla support this task as needed. WBS 5.0 Post-Wedding Activity. Tony and Peggy Sue are fully responsible for the rehearsal and preparing the detailed wedding day schedule.
Let's go through the network diagram step by step. We start with activity 1, set wedding date, which takes 1 week. This is the foundation for all other planning steps, so it's the first one in our network. From activity 1, 3 activities begin in parallel. Activity 2, create guest list. Activity 3, book reception area. Activity 7, coordination with official. This activity depends directly on the confirmation of the wedding date. Next, from activity 2, we proceed the 2 activity. Activity 4, send invitation, which take 2 weeks. Activity 6, waiting room invitation, which take 1 week. Both of these can only happen after the guest list is finalized. Meanwhile, from activity 3, we proceed to activity 5, hire caterer. This activity has a duration of 2 weeks, meaning it can be done once the reception venue is booked. Once activity 4, 5, 6 and 7 are complete, we move to final step. Activity 8, rehearsal, which is crucial to ensure everything is ready and all parties are coordinated. This activity depends on the completion of all the major planning tasks beforehand. To summarize, the network diagram helps us visualize dependency and parallel tasks. It also helps in identifying the critical path, which include the longer sequence of dependent activity that determine the project duration. By mapping out the network, we can plan more efficiently, assign responsibilities clearly, and ensure that nothing is delayed.